All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of Blend Blazers Podcast with your host, Ricardo D. Rice. And today we are staying in my space, but not really my space, because, I love all things media, but there's some parts of media I just don't do. So, I love to bring in experts. So today, this gentleman I met November. Was that November?
July.
Seriously?
Yeah, that was July. Well, no, June. Actually, June. It was June.
How you making me feel kind of slow? Okay, so I met him in June of. I swear it feels like November. I met him in June of last year, and it's very rare. You guys know it's very rare that I do like personal carpets. I do the Stellars and stuff like that, but it's very rare that I do a personal carpet. But I'm very glad that I did. I was very amazed at what I saw, the interviews that I did, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself today because we're so thankful he's here. Introduce yourself to the people.
Hey, everybody. I'm Khaeem. I'm an independent film director here in Atlanta. I've been here in Atlanta for a long time. This is where I grew up. I'm originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My mother moved here when I was a kid in elementary school, so I guess Philly made me, but Atlanta raised me.
Oh my God, that term drives me up a wall. Drives me up a wall. So how long? Okay, so you moved here. Mm-hmm. So how long have you actually been here? Like, give me a time frame, because I'm trying to figure out if you were ATL alien or you kind of like me an implant.
I got here in 1977.
Okay, I wasn't even born yet, so yeah, you've been here for a hot minute.
Exactly.
You've been here for a hot minute.
Time, yeah.
All right, so let's start from the beginning. So tell me, how did you end up in this space? Because we just talked, and we actually had the same background, which is very rare, which is that law school thing that you kind of go to school for. He actually did well on his LSATs, but I won't talk about mine. He actually did well on his, but let's start from there. Like, how was the beginning? How did you get started? All that good stuff.
Well, actually, I started off in music. I was a music producer. I had a recording studio in Riverdale on Highway 85 called Platinum House Recording Studios. And I had a chance meeting with another film director, and he was just asking, he went to Morehouse, him and his partner, they went to Morehouse, and they asked, because I think they were wanted me to do a CD for them or something, and they said, you ever thought about getting into filmmaking? I was like, no, so they told me a little bit about it, and that kind of like sparked my interest into actually doing it myself. So what ended up happening was in 1999, I coordinated with some of my friends and started buying equipment, studying filmmaking, adding on to my music studio. And I had a lot of students from Atlanta Art Institute coming in, and they were doing their personal projects. So I said, well, hey, if you teach me, you can just use everything for free, And so
that was a good barter.
So they taught me, what they knew and what they were learning. This is back in 1999, and so, I'm very meticulous when it comes to learning new things. I don't disrespect the craft by just trying to jump in and just start doing stuff. So I started studying and learning and studying and learning, and started out with music videos, and, learning how to edit and learning how to shoot and different things like that, until I got to a point of proficiency where I was like, okay, well, I think I can actually do it. By this time, it was from 1999, about 15 years, man, went by, man, because I was like really studying,
I got a question about the music. What kind of music were you producing? I'm just
I was doing R&B and hip hop, R&B and hip hop music. And so at that time, around 99, the music industry was, turning into something different, actually, as far as, Napster came out, they started downloading music. And
that's right. You were doing it when that happened.
Yeah.
How did that, okay, I'm very curious about that, because like you said, that's when we started doing the background, downloading stuff for free, and how did that affect the business when you were in it? Because you were in it. So how did that affect everything?
Well, how it affected me, I was actually managing and producing an R&B group that was on the precipice of getting signed to a major deal. And it just tanked their whole deal because the labels stopped funding their R&B projects.
Really?
Yeah, they just withdrew all their money from the R&B projects, and whatever money was left was going into whatever hip-hop projects they were doing. And so did
they tell y'all they were going to do it, or they just stopped doing it?
They just stopped. They just put them on the shelf. And so, I'm a very forward-thinking person, so I kind of saw the writing on the wall. So I started investing a lot of time into learning filmmaking. So actually it took me from like 1999, 2000 to around 2010 when I knew I was ready to really get into filmmaking. Because, it's a strong learning curve, by the way. A lot of people don't really realize it, that, to really do filmmaking correctly, especially if you're not going to school for it, the learning curve is really steep.
Well,
you
just
know.
the editing alone. Like, I want to learn how to edit. Thank God for apps. But I'm just like, just with the apps I use, I'm like, I'm barely getting by on this. I can't even imagine what it's like to actually learn how to edit a project.
And shoot and things like that. Well, you know, a lot of people, you know, they grab equipment and they just run and shoot. And that concept is okay insofar as just getting about the business of just doing something. But when you want to do it correctly, the learning curve is pretty steep, and you have to respect the process and learn the craft, you know. And so that's what I wanted, because I actually have family members that are actually in, you know, the film industry.
Oh, really?
And they've been in it for a long time. And so, you know, I didn't want to embarrass myself, just throwing stuff out there, or them, like, I don't know him. You know what I'm
Which
saying?
people will do. Family will do that.
They'll do that.
Very quickly.
Do that. So, you know, I wanted to have my game tight. So, you know, by 2010, I wrote my first script.
What was at the core of your learning curve? Like, was it
The core-
Google University, or like, I know you had the students as well. So what were like the missing pieces that you filled with? Like, what did you use, books? Or?
Well, it was a lot of books. It was a lot of reading, because you got to remember, like in 1999 to around 2006, the internet was a thing, but it wasn't as advanced as it is now. Yeah. So, you know, you had to read a lot of books.
Oh yeah, card catalogs, library, still a thing.
And so I had to learn, cinematography, because I wanted my my work to be, professional, and not just professional, creative and artistic. So, and the cinematography is even, just learning that craft was very intense. So yeah, so that's what, for me, cinematography and just reading a lot of books and whatever I could find on the internet at that time.
I have to keep going back because I keep forgetting we're in 2023 and now things are a lot more lax. So you can get away with using phones and things of that magnitude. Back then, that was not a thing. It was
now you can go on YouTube, and people are doing master classes on YouTube, and so you can kind of, like, what took me maybe 10 years will take somebody maybe 4 to 6 years if they really dedicated themselves to really studying, intensely, but because of resources, and I had to work, regular job, it took me roughly 10 to 15 years, to really lock it down, and where I feel like, I felt like, okay, I'm a filmmaker. I know how to make films, and I know how to do it, correctly, so that took a minute.
I can imagine. How much preparation did videos help out? Like doing videos,
oh
things of that
man,
magnitude.
I would advise any new filmmaker to start off with music videos, because the reason why, it teaches you rhythm, especially when it comes to editing, because you have to cut, the music, to whatever's going on.
Not about to blow my mind in the first 20 minutes. Like the thought of what goes into a video, I can't even imagine what that.
Yeah. The one thing you get is you learn how to, music video editors, when they transfer over into regular film, they have a rhythm. And rhythm is good because when people are watching, a movie, the pace, they call it pace in film editing, but I like to refer to it as rhythm, and so it has a nice flow. So yeah, so that helped me a lot. Like you just asked about music videos, it helped me a lot because that was my base, music. And then also too, my musical background, because I play, I'm a musician, I was able to, really gravitate towards scoring.
I knew you were going to say that word. I was thinking that in my head. I was like, I didn't learn that until I was at your red carpet and I met the people that scored. And I was like, what does that mean? What is
oh, yeah,
scoring
Shylin.
mean?
Yeah, Shylin
What does
and
scoring
Charles
mean?
Tate. Yeah. They're very talented. They're very talented. They're composers. They work with me. They're part of my team. But yeah, music is like, music and audio is 50% of your film.
This is true.
It's 50% of it. The other 50% is visual.
Until I sat down, I didn't think about how you have to pick the music for each scene and pick how long is that process by itself? Just the music part of any film or things of that magnitude. How long is that process?
Well, for me, I mean, it's what I love, so it's half the process. So however long it takes me to shoot the film, you just split that 100% down in the middle, and that's how long it takes me, 50% of that time to get the music and the scoring correctly.
What does your process look like for that? I'm just curious. Like, what does your process look like to pick the music for your movies and stuff?
Oh man, that's like the most fun part because I like to do films about music and musicians and stuff because that's just my background. So it's just like I go into my studio, I turn the lights down low, and I drag out all the music that I like to listen to, and I create the film. Before I even start writing the script, I'm laying it out on the floor with lights turned down low and listening to all the music that I like, that I feel like would, you know, be best for this particular project. And then I get a whole visual of the whole movie in my head just listening to the music. So
Really?
so that's what I do. I just go in my studio, shut the door, turn the lights down, just drag a bunch of old albums, tapes, CDs, or whatever MP3s I have, and just create a playlist. And then that playlist actually becomes the movie, So then once I leave out of the studio, I know exactly what the movie's going to be about, from start to finish.
All from the music.
All from the music.
Okay. All right. So let's go to, you said you had just written your first movie.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start from there.
My first movie was about, it's a movie called Marvelous.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it's a fictionalized version of, like, my father, he just passed in July. His name is William Hart. He used to be in a group called the Delphonics. And so,
Is that a famous group?
Yes, they're very famous.
That's a famous group.
They won a Grammy. They were nominated for Grammys.
What's the song that people would know?
La 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 means I love you. But most children and kids, they would know the Delphonics through the music video games, such as Grand Theft Auto, Ready or Not, Here I Come. So a lot of kids will hear those songs, and they're in a lot of different movies, like on TV series like the Wu-Tang Clan. I think their music is featured everywhere because it's like part of popular culture now. Mm. So I wanted to do an actual movie on them, but this was like before I was like ready to do it. So I was like going to get people together because I knew some producers that were interested. So I tried to get my dad and my uncle and different people together, and I got a lot of good responses from them. However, dealing with the older generation and trying to put together, something so,
trying to coordinate,
advance and get everyone together, that just didn't happen. And it kind of frustrated me. But see, when I get frustrated and you tell me no, or you try to push me to the side, it's going to have the reverse effect. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go hard. So I said, okay, I got you. So I wrote a whole script. Like just like a movie, a fictional fantasy movie about a group called Marvelous. And I just used my dad's group as like an archetype, to kind of like, blend in maybe like their personalities and their thought processes and things like that, to kind of like breathe life into the characters. And it just worked. It was great, and so it became a film festival darling. It won several awards. It won Best Picture. It won my actor, Brian Earl. He's now doing his thing in the commercial film market. He won Best Actor.
Nice. Did you let your dad read it?
He saw it, He saw it, he saw it. He was like, yeah, I don't want people knowing my business. He never wants people to know his business, He's like, but you should do one about my child. He like the part, do something about my child. He didn't want me to instantly do something about his childhood, but he enjoyed it. My uncle, he enjoyed his brother because they had the group together, Wilbur Hart, and they thought it was a nice venture. So yeah, but that's what it did for me by them, not being able to come together to actually do the film. Yeah. It just gave me the fuel that I needed, to just do things on my own, It
was necessary.
Yeah, it was definitely necessary. So, the film Marvelous, it just did great in the film festival circuit.
All right, so let's talk about this film festival thing.
Mm-hmm.
So this could be a myth. I'm asking you to dispel this if this is a myth.
Okay.
So I was told that a movie can't go into a film festival if it's already out. Is that true?
Yes, that's true for most film festivals. For most film festivals, they want the first opportunity to premiere the film at their festival. So if it's already been released into theaters or sometimes even online, that can disqualify you from, being selected, because they always want the first opportunity to, you know, show and premiere your film. However, there are some film festivals that even if it has been, premiered on another platform, they'll still accept it as a submission and you probably could get selected. But the majority that I know, they're a part of their prerequisites are, it can't be shown anywhere else.
Okay, other myth or truth. So are you sending them the whole movie or you're sending them like a sizzle reel type thing?
No, you're going to send them the whole movie. You're definitely going to, like, if you do a documentary, you got to send them the documentary, If you send them a movie, and that's different categories. Sometimes, you have movies, documentaries, short films, feature films, music videos, things like that. Yeah, different categories. And to be selected in and of itself is an honor. That's what a lot of people, some people don't realize, is that to be selected is an honor in and of itself because you're competing against hundreds, if not thousands, of other filmmakers just to get selected.
So this is considered intellectual property, correct? Mm-hmm. So you should have it copyrighted and stuff before you send it?
Yes, that would be advisable. That would be advisable, if you had all your, business arrangements in order regarding your intellectual property, yes.
Okay, I think that's all my good questions. I want to make sure, while you here, I want to make sure I ask all my good questions to those who are considering this kind of stuff. Any other myths about film festivals that people might want, up-and-comers might want to know? Or something you didn't know until you actually did the process?
What I didn't know was how effective film festivals really are. And what I mean by that is that I think a lot of people, I don't think it's a myth, it's just a fear. It's a fear more than a myth. A lot of people fear film festivals because your film is out of your hands at this point. So now other people are going to criticize it. They're going to tell you did good. They're going to tell you where you could do better. A lot of times you have to, take on questions from the crowd. They're going to ask you, why'd you do this? And people are going to stop you. But see, I love that part. For me, I feel like once I put it out in the universe and it gets judged by the right people, see, your friends and family, they'll tell you,
spare your feelings.
sometimes, or sometimes they'll tell you, oh, that's not right, or that's not right, or it's great, but you'll never really know what the motivation is. But when you put it out in the universe and film festivals, these people don't have a dog in the fight. They don't have any biases, so they're going to tell you how they feel. And I'm not just talking about the selection committees, which can be brutal, but the people actually that are coming to watch it. Because I've been pulled aside and people tell me, oh man, this is what I felt about this, or this really resonated with me about that. And I like the feedback. So some people, more than a myth, I think it's a fear of film festivals because, a lot of people, once you do all this work, you're afraid for someone to tell you no. You're afraid someone to tell you that it wasn't good. But, I have to experience that because I need to know where I stand as a filmmaker,
This is very true. So is there a tier system to this? So like you submit it and then if they like it, they show it during the festival or they pull you to the, how does that work?
Okay, when you get accepted to a film festival, what ends up happening is that you get notified and they let you know, how they're going to premiere it. And each film festival is different. Some of them have a tiered system. Some of them don't. But they'll inform you, how they're going to premiere it and when and where.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And it's your responsibility to get there or they foot the bill for that?
No, you put the bill for everything. I wish they would. Wouldn't that be good?
I was hoping that you would say, well, no, they foot the bill for it. But so it's like, okay, we're showing it on Thursday at 2 p.m. And
no, what happens is that you, I always tell my team, we did all this work. You guys need to be at the film festival, so everyone, my producers, actors, I try to always tell them, this is a good opportunity because the networking, is really amazing at film festivals, The network is really amazing. So, but you do everything on your own dime to get there because you're putting your work out there in the universe, not only just to be celebrated, but to also be, calibrated. I use that word.
I actually like that. That was a good word. Actually,
so you can see, where you are as a filmmaker. But yeah, you go on your own dime.
That's not as exciting. But I mean, hey, at least you were selected and you're going and you get to get the criticism and the exposure. All right. So after Marvelous does film festivals, what does it do next? Do you put it on a distribution channel?
Well, what ends up happening, like, you know, when you make your film, and you go to the film festivals, you do your film festival circuits. What you're doing at that point is you're establishing yourself. You're establishing your reputation as a filmmaker and your credentials, and that's very important in this business. Because, you know, one of the myths that I used to think was, all you got to do is make you a film and somebody's going to buy it.
That's not true.
You know, no, it's not. No, it don't happen like that. You know what I'm saying? I don't really care how good it is. You as a filmmaker and your reputation for doing something that other people enjoy, that reputation has to be built over a particular period of time. People have to look at you and respect what you do, because it's tons of people out here who can make a film.
Especially now.
So my myth that was busted, was that, okay, you really got to get out here and establish a reputation for doing good work.
Did that come from a hard knock lesson like you?
No, it wasn't hard knock. It was hard enough just realizing that ain't nobody go buy my film. What's up? You know what I'm saying? So, you have to develop a good reputation, and your reputation will precede you eventually, but that's where film festivals come in. Once you get out and you start, submitting to these film festivals and getting selected and sometimes winning those awards, you develop your reputation as a good filmmaker. So at that point, once you develop your reputation as a good filmmaker, someone who knows how to make a good film, people may want to talk to you about acquisition and acquiring your works. So this is what I learned. You can just make, it's not like the music industry where, you singing in the subway. Oh, I'm going to give you a record deal.
Like Tyrese, for those that don't know, like Tyrese.
That doesn't happen in the film business. Everything is reputation based. Everything is based on your reputation and how good you are at what you do.
So winning in a film festival is kind of more for favor and things of that magnitude versus like a prize of something that happened.
Winning at a film festival means a lot. That means that you're pretty good at what you do. So, and that depends now. That has currency. For me, I rather be known, to be good at what I do and making good work, because that has its own currency. So it's more, in my opinion, than a little favor. It's like a stamp of approval, Being selected, especially depending on what film festival. Because you got millions of film festivals out there.
I've noticed that.
So for me, I'm kind of selective about the film festivals that I submit to, because let's put it to you this way, all film festivals are not created equal. So sometimes just being selected to the right film festival will give you a stamp of approval, and, people will want to network with you.
Well, the submission process is not free, correct? You have to pay every time you submit,
Yep,
right?
you got to pay every time you submit, and it's various different amounts, and it's, you just make that a part of your film budget. That's what I do. Whatever my film budget is, I just also budget for film festivals, because that's part of marketing your film. So to answer your question even further, as far as what happens after the film festival, you just go to your next project and you acquire a portfolio. And then you have to start getting your situation together where, okay, you have to start getting with your team, how we're going to distribute the film, pitching your film to different networks. And a lot of this is going to be based primarily on the networking opportunities that you may have already received by having your film in film festivals in the first place.
Oh, so it's all relative.
Yes. Everything's relative.
All is relative. All right. So you finished the film circuit and you're doing Marvelous. Did you move on to your next project?
Yeah, I did another project. That's the project where I met you at the red carpet event, and that was the Marvelous Southside Crew, and it's an actual television series,
which I did not know. I didn't find that out until after. I was like,
yeah.
Oh, it's a movie. She's like, no, that's a series. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Okay.
It's a television series that's based on me growing up in Atlanta with my friends here in Atlanta during the hip hop era. And a lot of my friends, they went on to become major hip hop artists and produce Grammy Award winning work or Billboard charted work, And so I wanted to we were all teenagers growing up here in Atlanta. And so I decided to do a TV series about it. And so I moved from the first project, Marvelous, to, the Marvelous Southside Crew, because I'm involved in each one of them. So it's more like it's like an ongoing storyline where that's why I kept using Marvelous.
I wasn't gonna ask. I was gonna put the pieces together.
Yeah. So actually, the TV series is linked into the first film as well because it's how I got to Atlanta, and then before I was in Atlanta, it's Philadelphia, so everything is just kind of a fictitious storytelling of my life.
So was that just the first episode that we did the red carpet for, or that was a whole series already created?
Oh, no, that was just like the first episode that you saw at the red carpet.
Yeah. People normally do that? I didn't know they did that for like TV shows and stuff.
Oh, yeah, they do. I mean, and so what I did was I submitted it to film festivals, and that got an honorable mention at the New York Hip Hop Film Festival Awards in Brooklyn.
I saw that. Congrats.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, and we had a lot of tough competition. That's one of the big boys in hip hop. The New York Hip Hop Film Festival Awards. It's one of the it's a good film festival. To gauge your work, and so they embraced us and they thought it was a pretty good work, and so it's been doing well.
So what's the plan for? Is the plan to land the series on like a Netflix or something?
Yes, that's the plan. The plan is to definitely get it get it acquired by, a major studio. Because, we want to definitely, continue on with the different episodes.
So now you enter the pitch stage, the pitching space where it's like you're sitting in front of Hulu and Netflix.
Yes, we've done those
things
things.
That magnitude.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And so all the vibrations for Marvel Southside Crew, the responses have been all good, all positive. However, this is a business, and it's kind of like the government. It moves slowly. It does. But, you just got to have, you got to have that acumen to just, move on with the process. So then, like you said, eventually, while the wheels are spinning slowly, my thing is no news is good news. And anytime we get, the sit downs and the meetings, they are positive. And so you just move on to the next project, so that you can kind of keep it moving,
Keep it moving.
So this is my way. Now, what a lot of people do, especially a lot of independent, filmmakers here in Atlanta, is that some people just put their stuff on YouTube or they go straight to Tubi, and things like that. But my lane is a little different because I want to kind of like move my projects to the next level. Mm. And so sometimes if you kind of like tip your hand too early and put it, maybe on a streaming platform that maybe, is maybe a little less than Netflix. It might,
Nice wording. That was nice wording. Actually, no, I'm going to put you on the spot, which is very rare. Mm. I want your honest opinion on Tubi, because now I'm starting to see this trend with Tubi, and I'm actually starting to see videos that are like poking fun at Tubi. What is your thoughts on Tubi? As a filmmaker, what is your thoughts on Tubi?
As a filmmaker, first of all, we have to understand that I think Tubi's owned by NBC, so they're one of the big boys.
Is it really?
Oh yeah, yeah. I want to don't quote me, but I think they're owned by NBC.
Now I'm curious. I'm gonna look that up.
Or one of the major networks owns them. Okay, so they're not anything to sneeze at. Now, they give independent filmmakers a legitimate platform to display their work. And that in and of itself is rare, and it's positive. Now, people are going to poke fun at mostly anything. But what I would just say is that I don't really feel like there's anything to poke fun at, because when you look at it, just filmmaking in general. I mean, from multi-million-dollar films and on down to low-budget films, a lot of them need work now. Filmmaking has become a cookie-cutter process for a lot of big films. So I feel like if you want to, it's a lot of criticisms to go around. But as far as Tubi is concerned, I feel like it's a legitimate platform. They are owned by a major network. I want to say it's NBC.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
So I feel like if you can, they're owned by Fox.
Really?
Owned by Fox, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right. Do they get paid for that?
To my knowledge, yes.
Really?
Yeah, to my knowledge, yes. So for whatever reason, I think that Tubi is just a part of their process is supporting independent filmmakers. Now, a lot of times, independent filmmakers beg for these opportunities.
This is true.
You know, and the doors are not often open to them. You see, so when we get these opportunities, I feel like we need to praise them and not criticize them, because all Tubi has to do is say we're no longer going to accept films of a certain quality or caliber, and the door is shut and there are no more avenues. So, but as far as criticizing the quality or whatever, I mean, you got multi-million-dollar films and you be like, they gave them that much money to do that.
Hello, Marvel.
So, it's a lot of criticism to go around,
All right, so what's next for you? What are you working on now?
Right now I'm working on a movie called Sweet Friday.
Music movie?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I love music. That's just me. Some people do karate movies.
I would pay good money to see you do a karate movie.
The Shaw Brothers.
The Karate Kid.
You know what I'm saying? The Shaw Brothers, they made a living out of doing karate movies. This is my thing. But no, it's a cool film. It's set in the 70s in the disco era. I think you were there when I was talking about it. Mm. It's a disco movie, and I like the era. I like the colors. I like the flair of the disco era. And so that's what I'm working on right now, while everything in the background, it's working itself out. Working itself out.
All right. Any advice for up-and-coming film directors? Some pitfalls you may have fell into, some thoughts you had after some things happened, anything you want to leave?
Well, thank God that I didn't fall into any pitfalls, because I listen. I try to listen. If I can't listen, I watch other people's mistakes. And what I mean by that, I come from a family of entertainers on both sides, on my mother's side and my dad's side. So I listen whenever they tell me something. If they're not telling me something, I watch whatever they do and whatever pitfalls that may have befell them. Now, the advice that I would give new up-and-coming filmmakers is learn the craft. You see? And that kind of goes to your point maybe about not Tubi, but maybe some of the people that may have their stuff on their platform. What I'm saying is I wouldn't know, because I don't really watch it like that. But if you have a problem with, some work that you see, then I feel like new up-and-coming filmmakers should do their due diligence and study the craft, respect the craft, learn how to edit properly, pay someone to teach you, learn how to become a good cinematographer, pay someone to teach you how to do it. A lot of times, people are so excited because they just want to do something, and we live in a clout chasing kind of culture right now, where everyone wants to be known to do something, and that's fine. But the first thing you want to be known to do something well, or at least proficient. Let's at least shoot for proficiency.
At the bare minimum. At the minimum.
At the minimum, that was proficient. And then you build on a proficient foundation. So just study. So I would tell all my new filmmakers, study. Become proficient. Move from proficiency to some form of mastery at what you do. And then, the quality of what we and the general public, will be able to experience and see on platforms in the movie theaters will get better and be better. But it all starts with the filmmaker. It doesn't start with the platform. The platform, it's the platform. That's the platform. Starts with us, the filmmaker. So my advice is study and learn your craft, become proficient, and then move to mastery.
How do people get in touch with you?
www.marvelousfilm.org. That's my website, and I have on that website there where you can contact me and send me your questions or inquiries on www.marvelousfilm.org. I'm on Facebook at Khaeem Film Director. I'm on Instagram at Khaeem Film Director. So, if you want to reach out and you're creative, I'm always looking to connect with talented and creative people. I think we need to create mutual alliances so that we can start creating our own platforms and creating our own spaces and move, kind of from always asking and start building, So, yeah, that's my contact.
All right, everybody. There you have it. Special thanks to our special guest today, Mr. Khaeem Yisreal. Thank you for being with us. And we will see you guys same time, same place on Blend Blazers podcast with your host, Ricardo D. Rice.